Eros Meets Agape is a bi-weekly heart-to-heart conversation about love, sex, marriage, and relationships. Everyone wants to love and be loved, but everyone does not know how to give and receive the love they both want and need. Intimacy and passion are essential, yet mean nothing if there isn't unconditional and sacrificial love, which is the foundation for any lasting relationship. Dr. Saudia is a licensed marriage and family therapist and minister. Let's listen in as she shares how to create healthier and happier relationships.
Hey there, family. Guess what? It is time for another episode of the Eros Meets Agape podcast, where I'm your host, Dr. Saudia. And today we are going to talk about what do you do after a breakup? Now, I get it. Your heart is broken, but how long do you mourn the loss of that relationship before you get back out there again? How long are you going to stay single before you move on? And should you actually move on, or should you be doing some things in order to heal first? Well, I'm going to talk about it because I get it. That isn't a conversation that we normally have, nor is it a place where we actually want to be. So therefore, there are questions that we normally do not share and ask with others simply because we just figure it out. And we figure it out as we go through it. But we can definitely make that easier by simply sharing key information to help you to not only heal after a breakup, but to know how to move forward so you don't repeat some of the same mistakes that could have been made in that last relationship. So let's head on over to the classroom, because we're going to head on the couch as we talk about learning how to deal with life, thus dating after a breakup. I will see you guys in a second. Hey there, folks. All right. So let's just dive right in. We're talking about dating after breakup. So I get it. Nobody likes a breakup. It's not fun. It's not exciting in any way, shape, or form. And for those of us who have been there, because I get it, everybody has not been there. And if you are on that plan and path in life, kudos to you. I don't know what you did in order to avoid, the hurt part of life when it comes to relationships, but I applaud you, and I wish I had an applaud meter so I could push the little button and give you shout outs and claps, because many of us just don't have that story. Many of us don't have the boy meets girl, boy likes girl, boy asks girl out, or girl asks boy out. They go out on date, fall in love, stay together, and then get married. Many of us just don't have that story. I know I'm not a person who has that story. I wanted that story, but that didn't really work out for me. As well, it didn't work out for many of us. And I know that people just need an understanding as to what does this look like? Now, let's think about this. Some people will be married and be not married for a number of years, and afterwards try to figure it out. Like, I have kids and I'm now juggling life, and how do I start dating while I'm still figuring out this new single version of me? When I have clients that I'm really working with and helping them to overcome a breakup as a result of either a marriage or an engaged relationship, or if it's just simply having dated someone for a long time, it's a process. Why? Because I didn't plan for this. No one goes into a relationship planning to break up. So we don't have a plan for that. We don't know what to do when that happens. And so what do? We figure it out as we go along. But if we had a system to use, or at least some type of tool to help us to navigate that process a little bit smoother, then it could help us to heal a little quicker, as well as to help us to be able to navigate that next phase of life with that next person a lot smoother and a lot healthier. So what does that look like? So I'm going to give you a few tips as to what that looks like. And I'm actually going to break it up, because it's a lot easier for me to tell you what to do if you're dating, engaged, and married, as opposed to just giving everything in one spiel and then having to go through all three of those each time. Okay. So here's the first thing you want to make certain you look at. When it comes to a breakup, you want to think about the amount of time that you were with that individual. So there's a different mindset for someone who has simply dated as opposed to someone who has been engaged or married to an individual and now there's a breakup. Here's the reason why. I'm not saying that if you dated, you didn't consider that person long term. I'm not saying that. Nor am I saying that if you dated you didn't consider that you could possibly spend the rest of your life with this person. Not saying that at all. But what I do want you to realize is that there's a different level of commitment for those who are engaged and married, because I am purposefully, intentionally moving and navigating through my life with the thought of another individual. So therefore, all of the decisions that I make should be, if they aren't, but should be about us and what is best for us. Now, I'm not saying you don't get, you don't have opportunity to think about yourself. You don't get lost in the sauce here. We don't sacrifice ourselves, meaning that we forget about us to build a relationship. You still have to be you. It's two individuals joining their lives together, but you still remain an individual. So that means you still have to consider yourself, but you do so in the context of a relationship. And that mindset just changes when you have a definitive long-term plan in mind when you're engaged or married. But I would also add to that, if you're married and you are married with children, that's another thing to also consider, because now I'm not just thinking of me and my spouse, I'm thinking about the best interests of my children. So when it comes to a breakup and you are dating, and maybe even you live together and you're dating, but not necessarily engaged or married, there's a little bit more freedom that you have than someone who is engaged, meaning they're planning their future with this person, or someone who is married. The only caveat that I would add to that for someone who is not married or engaged, but is dating, would be someone who shares a child or children with their partner. And then there is a breakup, because now we have to figure out how to co-parent, right? So when it comes to this breakup and you're looking at, whether you are dating, engaged, married, or unmarried, but sharing children with someone, you want to look at, how do I navigate my life moving forward? If it's just you, then you can have a clean tie from that person, or break from that person if you so choose. You don't have to remain friends with them. Now, you may be an individual that chooses to be friends with your ex, and that's fine if that's what you both choose to do. But I want you to think about the reason why. Are you choosing to be friends simply because that is who you are as an individual and you value that person's friendship? Even though the relationship could not work, you know that the friendship will. So therefore, you want to sustain, maintain, and build that friendship. Or are you doing it because you want to keep tabs on that person? See, that's where we have to be careful, because when we are attached to someone emotionally, it's really hard to let go. But we have to do it slowly, sort of like, think of a scrape or cut that you may have and you have a Band-Aid on it. You don't want to rip the Band-Aid off here, right? You want to do it slowly, but being in that person's life, especially if you're connected on social media, you don't want to hurt yourself that way. If you have a clean break from this person that you are not married to, engaged with, or sharing children with, and friendship would not be for you, or you're trying to be a friend simply so you can stay in their life to maybe fix things, that's the wrong motive. You want to make certain that you are really honest about your motive. You want to make certain that you are honest in regard to yourself. What does that mean? You can lie to other people, but you can't lie to yourself. So if you know you want to stay connected to this person, then just go ahead and admit that. Then you don't have to figure out what to say to other people if they're asking questions. Now, I'm not saying you have to tell them your business, but no need in lying to yourself, because eventually you'll get to the place where you actually can share why you're doing what you're doing. And you can do it with that person. Maybe it's for the hopes of seeing that things have changed to the place where now you all can actually build on some type of relationship moving forward, if that, is a possibility. Or sometimes it's enough for you just to see you need to move on, because you see that this individual has moved on, or that this person is not what you thought, and you're seeing that a lot clearer now. Now, for those of you that were engaged, or you were married, or you have children, and you are sharing children and raising children with this person, you want to make certain that you look at this a different way. if you're married and you're trying to figure out how to navigate life after, remember, you shared a life with this person. So you probably are friends with their family and you're trying to figure out, do I not be friends with grandma anymore? Do I not hang out with, her brother anymore, or do I not hang out with his sister? You want to think about that. Now, here's how I think you should do it. And I say I think because there's nothing set in stone in regard to this particular issue. I'll get to some that are later that will be helpful for healing your heart. But when it comes to this particular point of mine, I always like to say, think long term. And here's an example. So if I want to remain friends with someone, that a family member of someone that I was with, and I was married or engaged to this individual, or we share children with this individual, and I still want to remain in that individual's life because we had a great friendship outside of the relationship with my spouse or my partner, then here's what I ask you to consider. Ask yourself, let's just say you see your life a year from now. Do you still want to be invited to that person's birthday party? Do you want to be invited to their baby shower or their bridal shower? Are you going to be invited to the family event? Because that individual will be there. They're going to be there with their partner, but guess what? Your ex may be there as well. Are you going to be okay with seeing your ex with someone new? And is it fair for you to bring your new partner in the area of where your ex may be and his family or her family may be? So when we think long term, we're not thinking like, hey, I'm going to the mall with her next week, should I do it? No, but I always go to Christmas brunch because, my mother-in-law invited me. But do I go now because my ex may be there with their new partner, or, my kids will be there. How do I handle that? And I'm bringing my new partner to their grandmother's place where dad is going to be. So you kind of want to think long term. You want to think special events, because that will help to give you a greater understanding as to, will you be comfortable in that environment? Whether you're celebrating someone else and you're coming alone and you're going to see your ex with someone else, or whether you're bringing someone with you, and will it be okay to do so? Is it disrespectful to do so based in the family's eyes or in your own? And I think if you think of it from that point of reference, it starts to help you to shape, how do I stay connected to these individuals that I had a relationship with when I was with that individual? Do I need to navigate that differently? Do I need to limit where I go and what I do? All of these things you want to keep in mind. Now, I get it. You're not going to make everyone happy, but at the end of the day, you need to be okay with yourself. And if others cannot respect that you are looking out for your own mental and emotional health and wellness, then that's a good indication that that may not be the best friendship moving forward for you. Okay. So if you are sharing children, especially, you want to think about that, because you want to think about your children and always keeping them comfortable and safe. And I'm not saying you're placing their needs above your own, but you are considering them in difficult situations and environments, and you're putting your best foot forward while having them in mind. And then, of course, if you were married or engaged, if you're engaged, it's a little bit easier to let go, because you're going to eventually be engaged to someone else and you're going to marry. And if you don't have children with that person, then unless you were really close with someone, you should be able to move away from that, because now if you get married, do you invite those individuals that you were close with from your ex's family to your wedding with your new boo? Do you do that? Do you invite them to your baby shower or to special occasions? Probably not. Now, there may be some outliers with regard to that, and that's okay. Everything doesn't have to be applicable for everyone. Think of it like a hat, right? A hat that says not one size fits all, but one size fits most. So this information that I'm giving you is one size fits most, because it won't be applicable to everyone. But if you've found yourself in a situation and you're not really certain how to navigate that, or someone who is going through it and they're not certain how to navigate that, then this will be helpful for you to really kind of get, your mind going, to get your juices going, to figure out what is the best direction for you. And sometimes we just need that conversation, and we don't always have the right questions being posed in our friend circle, but over here in our, therapeutic like circle, then we can have that to take place. Okay. All right. So the next point I want you to think about, and I kind of highlighted this a second ago, so I'm coming to it now. And the question becomes, how long do I or should I remain single before I get out there and start dating again? Okay. Now, I know there's an old saying that says there's no better way to get over a new guy or a new girl than to get under a new guy or get under a new girl. So in essence, that's basically saying I'm going to get over this old person by kicking it with this new person. Okay, let me just be the first one to say this. If no one has ever told you that does not work. And that is not healthy. And around here, you're using somebody. That's not fair. We have all heard of the rebound person. You don't want to use anybody to be the rebound person, nor do you want to have that come back to you and you be someone else's rebound person. That is not a healthy way to get over the loss of someone that is no longer in your life and you're grieving the loss of that relationship. It's just not healthy. Here's the reason. No one is going to really help that heart to heal simply by being around someone new. And in the same sense, you want to think of it this way. Distractions do not help you in healing your heart. They actually prolong or even prevent your heart from being healed. Distractions only keep your mind focused on something else, but that's only going to last for so long before you circle back to this again. How many people do you know got into a new relationship after an old one, and in their heart, they wish the new person was like the old person, or they still pined after the old person and were just barely making it through with the new person? It's not fair to the other person, but guess what? It's also not fair to you. You deserve to be happy. And even though it may not be with that other person, you can still find love and happiness again, but you have to do it in the timing that is right for you. So when it comes to a breakup, and what do I do in order to get over this thing? You first want to look at how much time do I actually need? Now, here's the thing you want to consider when it comes to trying to figure out how long you should be single before you actually move on to dating someone new. Now, statistics will say that you want to give yourself 1 month for every year you were with that person. So imagine if I was married, and if I was married for, let's just say 10 years, then it's saying that I need to be single for 10 months, okay? Meaning and here's where I'm going to get to this in a second, but I'm going to highlight it now. When we say single, we don't mean that you decided you all are not going to be married anymore, so now I'm single. No, single means you are actually divorced, okay? We don't want to put people in positions that cause them to have issues when we could have just been honest and upright with them in the beginning. So you want to make certain that you are actually single in doing this calculation. So if you were married for 10 years, then you give yourself 1 month for every year that you were married. So therefore you will be single for 10 months. So what do you do during that 10 months? Well, here's the catch. If I was married for 10 years, I probably have a certain mindset of being married, and I now need to switch that to being single. That's not going to change overnight. So that's one of the things that will be changing during this 10-month time frame. In addition, you will probably be getting acclimated. If you had children, you will be getting acclimated to a co-parenting schedule. So you want to make certain you have that down pat before you actually implement a new person into the mixture. And you also want to settle your kids. You want your kids to understand that, you have been divorced, or you divorced their parent. You didn't divorce them. So now you probably have to create new rituals with your children so that you can build up their self-esteem and so that they know that they are loved. And that takes time to do before you drop in a new person or insert a new person. Additionally, you want to think about it from this point of reference. You also need time to heal. Your heart loved another individual, and it's going to take time for your heart to detach from that person. 10 years of marriage is a long time. A lot different than if you simply just dated for 10 months. So you want to look at the relationship and the commitment of that relationship. So if you were married with children, there will be a lot to unpack during your months that you will be single. That's going to be vastly different from someone who dated for 10 months. And now I don't need as long of a time in order to heal. In that regard, it generally only takes about 3 to 3.5 months for a heart to heal from a breakup. And I said heal, not just let me move on. Let me just forget about this person. I mean, actually healing, because you don't want to have heartbreak and then move forward and you didn't deal with the heartbreak, because all you're going to do is what? Carry baggage. And the more you don't deal with something, the more baggage you are carrying. So make the load lighter, make the load easier simply by dealing with the things that caused you to hurt in the relationship, or because of the relationship, or because of the breakup. Deal with that. Take the time to heal, whether you're either going to see a therapist or whether you are leaning on your support network, your friendships, your family relationships. Whatever that support network looks like, you would want to lean on them, or if you want to go to a professional and speak to them in regard to them helping you to heal. But whatever you choose, make certain that you take the time to heal. And again, if you are single, then you are going to really look at that. Remember, you're single with no children with this person. So you're just going to look at it from the aspect of, I need time to heal. So what do I need to overcome so that I don't put that on the next person, or assume when something happens or this one thing happens that I experienced with my ex, that means when I see it moving forward, that it has the same meaning, definition, or implication. It's not always the case. And you know, I love talking about attachment stuff. So I'm going to look at that from an attachment perspective. So if you know your attachment style, you know your attachment fears, you want to make certain that you take some time to work on those things so that while you are healing from this breakup, you can do your due diligence. So when you move forward, you know what your deal breakers are. You know what your necessities are. You know what characteristics you're looking for. You know the level of emotional intelligence and availability you're looking for, so that you aren't out here dating haphazardly. You know, as a result of your own healing and growth, what you need moving forward. Because guess what? If I got in a relationship when I was 22, I probably wanted one thing that may be different than, going back to the example, you're married for 10 years. And so now I'm 32, divorced. I probably will look at life a little bit differently and want differently from a new mate. Because guess what? We are always evolving and growing, or at least I'm hoping we are, you all. Okay. So you will want different things. But guess what? You need time in order to assess that. But you have to go through the stages of that. Okay. Did you know that most people, when they go through a breakup, it is literally like going through the 5 stages of grief? Now, when you go through those 5 stages of grief, you are really feeling as if, guess what? I really lost someone in my life. And when you lose someone, you're hurting from that, right? And if you're hurting from that, then that means, wow, I'm not going to experience this anymore. So some people, when they go through a breakup, they are actually going through, and this is my next point, you want to take the time to heal. And if you actually go through these stages, then you need that time to move through these stages. And it's different for everyone. Some people don't experience all 5 stages. Some people experience more stages than the others. Some people revert back to a prior stage because they need more time to heal in that area. And so it's different. So in case you're wondering what the 5 stages of grief are, they are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. 5 stages of grief are mostly identified for people who have lost a loved one who has transitioned and is no longer living on this earth, but may have went home to be with the Lord. Now, when it comes to a breakup, the person didn't necessarily have to die, of course, but in our minds, in our hearts, because we believe that is the end of a relationship, especially if we don't have children with this person and we know we aren't going to have a friendship with this individual and we're going to let go of that relationship and I won't see this person anymore, then it's like a death. And we are experiencing that death. And I know when I went through my heartbreak, I knew I wasn't going to see him anymore. And I'll be honest, it wasn't because I didn't want to see him. It's because he dropped me and didn't want to see me anymore. And so because of that, it was hurtful to me that I wouldn't see that. And initially I denied it. I was like, no, we can work through this. And I reached out to him to be like, hey, can we talk about this? Wait a minute, let's think about some other things. I was in denial. But then I remember going through the stage of anger. And I seriously remember being, it was Christmas time and I was at the mall with my friends. And I was like, hey, look, I am just so angry right now. I don't know what to do. And they were like, look, go back to the car. Take whatever time you need to yell, scream, or whatever. Y'all, I sat in that car probably for about 10 minutes. I blew that horn, just rested my arms on the horn, pressing it forever and ever. I know I was annoying a number of people and I didn't care because I had so much anger within me that I didn't understand why I was here or how did I get here. And then I was screaming in that car. But oddly enough, once I released that anger, for me, I never visited that stage again. That was my way to get it out. But I had my support network that was there with me. Yes, I was a counselor. I could have went to see a counselor, but I had my support network. So I was able to talk with them and they were able to say, hey, maybe you should try this. And I did exactly that. And for me, it worked. Now, for me, I didn't have to go through bargaining. I did go through depression and I did have to go through a place of acceptance. But guys, when I tell you that coming out on the other side is such a great thing, I can communicate with these people and it is okay. In actuality, I am so cool with one of my exes. It is amazing. And we are great friends. Now, remember, I just talked about, do you want to be friends with someone that you're exes with? We didn't have any kids together, so there was no real reason for us to remain friends. But he reached out to me, and I'm a person, if someone needs help, I'm going to help them. He reached out to me, and then from there, we were just cool. I didn't have any residual negative feelings. I wasn't upset with him at all. So, it's funny that he just called me on my birthday, wishing me a happy birthday, as he does every year. And whenever I pick up the phone from his call, I always say, hey, my favorite ex, because we're just cool like that. He laughs. He thinks it's funny. He doesn't mind that phrase being related to him, and he's okay with it. So, we always have a good time when we chat. We don't chat all the time, right? Because he's married and he's raising his family, but we do talk and we have a good friendship. His wife knows that we're friends and she's okay with that. And he has her permission to do that. So you have to look at your own situation. So like I said, everyone will not be friends with their ex, and that's okay. I have some exes that I am not friends. Well, actually, I only have one ex. Wow. I only had to think about it for a second. I only have one ex that I'm not friends with, and that's okay. That's his choice. But the other few people that I was in a relationship with, we're cool. We actually communicate. Different levels. Some is just via social media, but we're still cool. Others I'll actually see and communicate with. So it just depends on you, your ability to heal, that other person's ability to heal, and then making certain that you don't have any blurred lines, right? Because some people, because you have a history together, you may get in contact with one another and you cross those lines. Now, I make certain that if we're not seeing each other and we're not together, this is what you decided, or this is what I've decided, and that's where we've come to, then we aren't blurring any lines together if we're actually still communicating. It's okay because we've decided this is where this relationship ends. It ends at friendship. So we don't do things that fall outside of the friendship lines. That means that no, there are no friends with benefits, because you have to look at your life and what you want. And if you're not careful, if you become a person who is friends with benefits, you could possibly get caught up in a situationship, and then you really don't have a voice there because you went into that particular relationship with that in mind, and now you want to change things. You really almost don't have a leg to stand on, if I'm being honest. I'm not saying everybody will be like that. Remember, it's like that hat. One size fits most, not one size fits all. But it is applicable for many people because they get caught up in a situation, then end up catching feelings, and they don't really have a way to get out of that person will be in agreement with them. So you want to be careful there, okay? All right, guys. So we have one more point to go over as we are dealing with this topic on really looking at how we're dating after a breakup. And that last point is, when it's time for you to heal and you're going through that healing process, what would that look like for you? And would that include dating? So we've already listen, we've already made it clear. You know you need time to heal. And we've already established that you look at 1 month for every year that you were together. You're also looking at whether or not you were married, engaged, dating, or you were dating and you had children. So you're looking at, is it just me that I need to look out for, or do I need to consider children? Do I need to consider these relationships that I have developed with this other person's family? Once you've gotten all of that stuff out the way, right? You've went through your stages of grief and you're trying to figure out, how do I now date after this breakup? I believe my heart is healed. But guess what, folks? We generally don't know how much our heart is healed until we get in this position where we have been triggered. Now, if you've been in a position where you've been triggered, if there's something sitting there, then guess what? You will react in a way to protect or defend yourself. But if you're healed, it won't be a problem. So let me give you an example. I am friends with an ex that really doesn't communicate with me. When I say friends, meaning, he friend requested me on social media. I accept it, like, okay, whatever, it's no big deal. I don't have any animosity to how things worked out, even though it didn't work out for me. But not one time have I had a desire to look at his page. It's not that I'm purposely avoiding it, not at all. It's just that I've realized that this person released me and I'm healed from that. I'm not trying to insert my way into this person's life. Now, and again, I don't know the details of his life. I don't know if he's married, seeing somebody, or engaged, whatever. I don't know any of that because it's social media. We're not real friends, right? Everybody knows when you're friends on social media, unless you see these people in real life, you're not real friends. I don't know why they call it friends. They should call it something else or have levels to it because that's really more applicable. But I'm saying that for this purpose. I'm healed. I'm no longer hurting. So because of that, I'm not trying to insert myself in this person's life, but in the same sense, it's okay to be cool with that person, knowing that you don't have any baggage and you determine, what happens from there. And for me, I'm okay with how things are. But in the same sense, I also know I'm healed from the hurt that I've had. So you have to know yourself. You have to know, okay, am I okay in possibly sharing the same circles as this individual? So now when it's time for me to date, in the event that I see this person or I see someone who is a mutual friend of both that individual and yourself, all right, will you be okay or will it trigger you? So I don't avoid my ex's page because I know I will be triggered. Doesn't bother me at all. And I know that simply because when we communicated initially, I didn't have anything coming up from my past that was trying to pull or lure me back in. So you have to ask yourself, are you really healed? And the only way we generally know that is if we have some type of contact or something about that individual or with that individual that shows us that. So I didn't know I believed I was completely healed, but I knew it for certain when he reached out to me and wanted to be friends on social media. In that sense, in all honesty, I actually laughed. And when I say I actually laughed, like, wow, this dude kicked me to the curb so hard, kicked me to the curb real hard, right? And my heart was totally broken. But look at you, wanting to friend request me on social media. And it just made me chuckle because I instantly said to myself, this doesn't even bother me. I am not hurt. I am not curious. It was literally like, I am okay. And because I was okay, I was able to accept the friend request. It wasn't a big deal for me, but I didn't have any curiosity to want to know either. Not because I was trying to avoid or defend or protect myself, but simply because I had moved on. Now, everyone might not be the same, right? Some people might say, no, you broke up with me. We don't need to be friends on anything. We don't need any contact. And that was okay. But I also know people that we share as mutual friends. We have so many friends that are mutual on social media. it wasn't as if I couldn't see. I mean, I never really checked, so I don't know if I could see their page or not. But, we could see comments back and forth. Still didn't bother me. All of these, I'm saying, guys, are little indicators. And when I say indicators, meaning they give you glimpses as to where you are. So for instance, with my ex, and we have a lot of mutual friends on social media, and I could see, his comments, probably he could see mine. Seeing the comments didn't bother me. It didn't make me recollect on past moments that I had. It was no big deal. So maybe by the time that friend request came and I chuckled, it was like, okay, it's even further indication. So you really have to assess where you are. Can you handle being in a mutual environment? It could be okay for some and not okay for others, but you need to know if you are healed. And in most cases, we generally only know that if we have some type of situation that could try to trigger things. So maybe the friend request was an attempt to possibly trigger me, but because I had completely healed, it didn't trigger me at all. So you have to figure out, am I completely healed? And in general, that means that if there's a conversation or a situation where you see this person, if you are no longer negatively affected or drawn in emotionally, then it generally means that you have actually moved on and you no longer have baggage from that relationship or that individual. And so when it comes to dating moving forward, you won't take the pain from that. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have something to take with you moving forward. You always want to make certain that you grow and that you learn, and you welcome every love experience as an opportunity to grow. I think one of the disservices that we allow for ourselves is that if a relationship did not work out, we look at it as if it was a bad thing, that it shouldn't have happened. And I think that's such a pessimistic way to look at life and love. And instead, we should welcome that opportunity that we were presented to be able to love and be loved. With my ex, even though, we don't communicate, I take every positive memory with me, love the love that we shared together, love the experience of his love, because he was a wonderful, kind-hearted, good person who was a great boyfriend. And with that, allowed me to be able to see the type of love that was possible to give. But that's what I took from the ending of that relationship. I didn't take the horrible way that he kicked me to the curb. I could, but I decided I wanted to let love win. And I think when we take the good with us, but learn from the bad, then we walk out smelling like roses as opposed to feeling like we're covered in ashes and ashcloth, okay? So you want to be able to make certain that you learn from your history so that you know how to move forward in your growth, in your new relationship, but also being growth-wise as an individual. So for every person that I'm counseling or coaching, whether they were dating, or whether they were living with their partner, whether they shared a child with their partner, engaged or married, and I literally have people now that are in 4 of those stages, okay? 4 different people in those stages. And all of these individuals, I make them sit in their emotional hurt. Why? Not because I don't like them, not because I want them to experience pain, but because I want them to experience everything now so that we can deal with it and let it go, as opposed to only getting a little bit, and then next year you get something else, and then the next 2 years you experience something else. We're going to deal with all of this now so that they can experience all of these emotions, identify them, be aware of them, walk through them, heal through them, and then move forward a different person because of accepting the healing and the growth that takes place. Everybody always grows from the experience, but it's only if they allow themselves to. Now, when you have children with someone, it's difficult because it's like, wait a minute, how am I supposed to heal, grow, and do all this other stuff while I'm managing co-parenting with this person? Statistics show that when you are sharing parenting with an ex, that it generally takes about 3 to 5 years for you all to get through your stuff before you get to the place where you all are healthily co-parenting, being okay with each other, seeing other people, dating other people, being around each other while you're dealing with your kids. But here's the catch. it all depends on the ability of ourselves to heal. Now, I get it. You might not necessarily have two mature people. You may be the one sole mature person, but that's okay. Then that means that you do, and I learned this from one of my guests on one of my shows, but again, it's all about looking at the parenting. What type of family do I want to present to my child? Whatever that is, then that means if I'm the one that has to suck it up, I suck it up there in that moment. I'm doing it for my kid, but guess what? As soon as I get some alone and me time, whether I am sitting by a spa, waiting for my next massage, getting a mani-pedi, or I just have the house alone to turn up the music, dance, yell, scream, or sleep, whatever that is, and it looks like for you, but whatever it is that helps you to heal. Now, notice I did not say drinking, smoking, because that's drugs. Yes, I'm going to go there. I'm not saying everybody's a drug addict, but you never want to self-medicate. And so I'm always going to suggest things that are healthy, that helps your endorphins to increase. Drinking is a depressant, so it's not going to help you to increase in endorphins. So I'm not going to head in that direction. If that's what you do, that's you. You're a grown person. I'm just not going to head that way because as a therapist, I'm going to always try to find a positive way for you to heal and grow, okay? But you always make certain that you take the time that you need after you've taken care of your child. You get your time that you need. That means you have to go to the recital and ex-bae is there with new bae and you have to sit next to them while your little baby is playing their little heart out on the piano or dancing their heart out on stage. Sit there with a smile on your face and be proud mom or dad. And then as soon as you get some alone time, do whatever it is you need to do. If you need to be like me in that car in the parking lot, blowing on that horn and yelling and screaming, if you by yourself, go for it, if that's what helps you to feel better. But make certain that whatever you're doing, it is healthy, it is not self-medicating, and it is helping you to release yourself of the negative emotions, but you make certain that you put right back into yourself with positivity. That means gather your support network, grab your girls, go see your fellas, do whatever it is that you need to do with them in a healthy way to be able to lift your spirits, okay? All right, guys, that's it. That's what it takes in regard to dating after breakup. You are looking at healing. You are looking at growth. You are looking at the appropriate timing for what you need to do in order to move forward and how long that should look like between the breakup and then starting over and dating again. You're considering yourself, but you're also considering your children, as well as whether or not you want to continue in former relationships that may be associated with your ex. That's all it is. Now, the only thing I did not mention was, do I date while I'm separated? Now, here's the catch. I don't know what state you live in or what country you live in. So I am just going to keep it simple. My belief, if you are married, you are still married, even though you are living a single life. Now, that's my point of reference. So I suggest to my clients, if you're married, you don't really need, when I say married, meaning you are still legally married on paper, but you are single because you are no longer with your spouse. So I believe even though you're separated and you're not legally divorced, you still need to focus on you, your children, so you don't have time to date. So don't focus on dating during this period. That is self-medicating, in my opinion. That will make you feel better, but it's only going to make you feel better temporarily. So take that same energy, apply it to your kids, apply it to your own self-care, and possibly get a therapist to help you to walk through your emotions so that you can become aware of what you're feeling, identifying what you're feeling, and healthily expressing what you're feeling while you are on your road to healing. That's what I think. That's my professional standpoint. That's my on the couch discussion with dating after a breakup. All right. So I think that's enough to get you started in order to experience life after a breakup, okay? I hope this has been enjoyable for you. Now, you know how I like to close out the show. I will take our temperature on our like it, love it, leave it tips. I like the fact that when it comes to a breakup, it doesn't mean that that's the end of the world. It just means that a new world is beginning. It's all about perspective, guys, and how you're choosing to look at life. It's not what you see. It's about how you see it. And so you always want to make certain that you look with a vantage point that will be to your advantage. What do I love? I love the fact that if you really allow time for you to sit in your emotions, meaning you experience them, you understand them, then you don't move forward with baggage. If I didn't take the time to really heal, and it really took some soul searching, because when I say I love that man, I love that man. I really saw myself married with him, having his children, and it was hurtful that it didn't work out like that. But if I didn't take the time to really heal and grow from that experience, I would not be in a position to be healthy now, or even to even befriend him now. I might either have an ulterior motive or still be hurting. And that would be a disservice to me. So I had to heal first. So I believe that when you allow yourself time to understand your emotions and heal, then you can move forward without baggage. And that is a gift that you give to your new partner as well as yourself. Now, my leave it tip, child, let me just be honest. If you don't really want to be connected to this person and you have no reason to, cut that person off from social media. If that means that you have to block them, do it. If you need to block them from your phone, do it. Whatever it is that you need to do in order to leave that part of you behind, because you believe it will be a detriment or try to pull you back, and you know that's not the best place for you, or that's not the right person for you, then my suggestion is leave it behind, because everything that is behind you, it wasn't necessarily meant to be in your future. But if it was, it will find its way back to you. You don't have to do anything to help it out. It will do it all on its own with God's help. All right. Okay, guys. So that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this is helpful for you or for someone that you know. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at Eros Meets Agape, and as well meet us in Clubhouse on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the No Dessert Before Dinner room. And we'll be discussing different topics weekly. So, check us out, come on in, share some thoughts and experiences, and we'll be there to give you not just support, but I'll be there to give you some advice. I won't necessarily say professional advice, but in a coaching format, I'll be able to assist you with, some of your love, sex, and relationship issues and topics. All right. So don't forget to rate and review us wherever you have downloaded the show. I hope you have enjoyed us, and I thank you all for listening. Till next time, I am Dr. Sadia, helping you to give and receive the love you both want and need. Till next time, be blessed, everyone. Bye-bye.